Welcome. My name's Dave Morgan. I'm Product Sales Manager with MERCO. We're going to talk about MERCO hot holding today. What are the benefits of hot holding and why should restaurants be utilizing MERCO hot holding? The biggest benefit and the main benefit is it's going to increase the revenue for the restaurant. It's going to increase your revenue because you're going to improve your speed of service by batch cooking and holding in hot holding cabinets with a system and process behind it. You're going to be able to serve more customers in that shorter period of time. It's also going to help you maintain a safe food temperature. There's a lot of restaurants out there today that say they don't use hot holding, they only cook to order, but in reality they are holding, they're just not holding well. They're holding on the side of the griddle, they're holding on the sizzle plate at the end of a broiler. They're finding different ways to hold food because they're busy. They're just not doing it well. They don't have a system or process around it. By utilizing hot holding cabinets like MERCO's, you're going to be able to put a system and process around that that's going to help maintain your safe food temperature. It's going to protect the quality and maintain the quality you want, which is going to protect your reputation. So those are the biggest reasons for hot holding today. Increase your revenue, maintain safe food temperature, maintain your quality, which protects your reputation. That's why hot holding equipment should be included in every kitchen out there. The other benefit we're seeing recently with hot holding cabinets is the fact that labor shortage labor is a challenge. And where you used to have 3 people in a kitchen running multiple pieces of equipment, you now have 1 person. And if you give me a Frymaster fryer with basket lifts and a griddle or a grill, maybe a Mary Chef and MERCO holding equipment, I can batch cook in those pieces of cooking equipment, hold it in my cabinets, and now when the orders come in, all I have to do is build the orders. These cabinets will alert me to say you need to cook more at this time, so it gives me a heads up to cook some more food. I can go drop something in the fryer, put something on the griddle, come back and build these items. When the food's done, reload my trays, and I can manage multiple stations in the kitchen now as 1 person, where in the past you had multiple. So we're seeing a big increase in hot holding because of labor shortages. It allows you to operate more efficiently in the back of the house by using hot holding. For MERCO, we have 2 levels of holding. We have 2 different types of model lines. We have MERCO Eco and MERCO Max. And the difference is the technology of heating. So on a MERCO Eco, you're going to have a platen heat top and a platen heat lower level. And so that's just a radiant heat technology. For MERCO Max, we're going to have hot forced air come off the top of the chamber, and the bottom is still going to be platen heat. Way to think about it is when you look at MERCO Eco, platen heat top and bottom heat, that's going to be very similar to the rest of the companies out there. Prince Castle, Carter Hoffman, Duke are going to have upper lower platen heat. With forced air, MERCO is one of the only companies that offer a forced air option on holding in cabinets like of this size. So the question is, what's the benefits of hot or moving air? It's the same difference between an oven and a convection oven. It's going to be more effective, more efficient because you're moving that temperature around and you're also moving the moisture out of the product. With the MERCO cabinets, you can hold both you can both hold crispy or juicy items in the cabinet. If you're going to hold a juicy item, they have a nice tight tray seal, which is different than a lot of the other companies out there. The pressure maintains to keep the moisture and the steam in there. A lot of companies have tray seals that just rest on top and gravity holds them, and as pressure builds up, it releases the steam and releases your moisture. So you don't get the good quality hold. If we were going to hold a crispy item, we simply take off the tray seal, save that for later, and now we put the item in there and allows all the moisture to come out, especially if we're using that hot forced air. It's going to help get the moisture away from your product. Your crispy items are going to be held better. If you're a burger joint only going to hold hamburgers and they're all grilled hamburgers, you'd leave the seals on and you could get by with using MERCO Eco. That'd be a good piece of equipment to use from us. If you're a chicken tender place and that's your signature item, a hand-breaded chicken tender, or a seafood place that has a heavy menu of deep-fried seafood items, you're definitely going to want that forced air, no tray seal, and that's going to help keep the quality of that product you're serving, especially your signature pieces, hold them longer, hotter, and keep them crispier. All right, so as we look at the 2 model lines for MERCO cabinets, MERCO Max and MERCO Eco, when would you use one model over the other? As I mentioned earlier, if you have a burger place that's only going to hold hamburgers, that's all they ever plan to hold is hamburgers, MERCO Eco is going to be the right equipment because you're going to keep the tray seal on it and keep the moisture in. You don't need that hot forced air. If you have a customer that says my menu changes a lot, I have mixed, fried, and juicy items, So we want that combination. The best piece of equipment then is the MERCO Max with the forced air, because you can do both items. If you're in a highly competitive situation against other companies, you want to lead in with MERCO Eco, because that's going to be the same technology as those other companies. So those are some of the differences on why you'd pick MERCO Eco or MERCO Max. Another big difference between us and the rest of the companies out there is our touchscreen technology. We lead the industry in the touchscreen technology. There's a lot of visual cues on this. As you can see, we've got some stuff in green here. As one item expires, this is called first in, first out. If this item expired, I finished it, the next one automatically lit up and said, now use that pan next. And you can see there's another pan of roast beef at the bottom. That's going to be the next one to use. So this will help manage first in, first out. It's also will turn yellow when it tells you on the cook more alert. So there's a lot of visual cues that are coming in. There's one other company that has a touchscreen technology today, and it's about the size of your cell phone. So it's a touchscreen technology, but it's not very good yet. So there's definitely a point of difference between us and the rest of the cabinets out there. So you can build in a cook more alert so that if it takes 5 minutes to cook something, at 6 or 7 minutes before it expires, you'll program this so that at 7 minutes this turns yellow and says cook more now, because if you wait till it expires, there's going to be a gap in service between what you have to offer. Yep, so you can build those in. Here we have the Crispy Max Fried Food Holding Station. Comes in 3 sizes. We have a triple, a double, and a single. So when we talk about a triple, double, and a single, if it's a 3-lane unit, a standard fry scoop can fit down each lane when spaced out properly. The same with the double Crispy Max as well. There's some accessories that come, package holders, a bridge to bridge between your Crispy Max and the fryer, fry scoop holder and the divider. Hot air is blown across the heater from the back. There's a heater and fan in each lane to help keep your product hot. Other brands and even our old model of the fried food holding station used to have 1 heater and 1 fan, and we've duplicated or triplicated that, so each lane has its own heat source. It's going to give you a better quality hold. It's going to give you a longer hold time as well. So the heat is blown over, the fan's blown over the heat. It goes underneath this perforated pan, comes up underneath your product, hits the front of the unit, does a U-turn and comes back, and it gives you that heat curtain across the top. So you're heating from the bottom and from the top. There's a lot of heating technology out there that has a lot of heat lamps or ceramic tiles. That's a passive radiant heat. If I walk by it, I take the heat source with me. If you're too close to the drive-through window, the heat source will be affected, and if you're by the HVAC system. With forced air, you're creating that air curtain, and you're getting that quality hold regardless of the atmosphere around you. It's a plug-and-play unit, so right from the factory, it's set at a standard temperature and fan speed. Plug it in, you're ready to use it. End of the day, you take off this perforated pan, and underneath it is the crumb tray. Both these pieces and all the dividers go back to your sink or your dishwasher, get cleaned out, and anything that made it pass or just a damp towel will clean up the bottom. And you can see where the three sources of heat are coming through. This way. There we go.
Hey everybody, my name is Steve Burgin. I am with Apex Order Pickup, and we have partnered with Welbilt and the MERCO brand to bring you the Order HQ automated pickup locker. And so we're excited to have a chance to walk you through why a pickup locker is important. We'll talk a little bit about the hardware, and then I'm going to turn the floor over to a couple of my partners, Eric Hanna and Brett Beatty, who you'll meet momentarily, and they'll walk you through an actual demonstration. So one of the things that customers are going to ask, or that you'll want to address, is why a pickup locker? Why is that something that we should be thinking about? And as you know, really better than anybody, the way that consumers interact with the food service industry has greatly changed over the last 5 years. And particularly in the last couple years as we've gone through the COVID situation. So We've gone from what has primarily been a dine-in occasion, right? So you go to the restaurant, you'd eat with your family, and we've moved very much to an off-premise location, an off-premise occasion. And so while that has happened also, people have become more and more comfortable with digital. So if you think about the way you interact with a restaurant now, you can order digitally, you can pay digitally, the order fires off to the kitchen. A lot of what you're going to see through these training videos are automated and have digital elements to them. But when you get to the end of that process, the actual handoff of an order is still very much a physical thing. I have to meet you, I have to hand you the bag, or I put your order on a counter, I put an order on a shelf for a DoorDash driver to pick up, and so that last piece of that process has not been automated. And that's what the Order HQ does for you. And so the things that will do for a customer is a couple things. It will first capture some important data that they're not capturing today. So one of the things we'll talk about is that your customer is now able to capture when the order was completed, placed in the locker, how long it sat there, when it was picked up. And we find a lot of times that that's data you're not capturing. When you put an order on a shelf, you lose track of what's actually happening to that order. So we're going to let customers capture that data, which can be very valuable to them. We also find that as people put orders on shelves, things happen to those orders, right? The orders disappear, they're picked up accidentally. Sometimes they're picked up not accidentally. And when those orders are lost, that's a cost that the restaurant has to incur. And so that's one of the things that we find customers will benefit from. The other thing is just labor. You know, labor is the single biggest issue that restaurants are facing today. And right now, a lot of restaurants or food service locations have somebody that has to stand there and call out names and actually make that physical handoff. What this allows your customer to do is create that order in the kitchen, place it in the locker, and get back to what they're doing. And that will help speed up the process and save labor. And if you can save an hour or two a day of labor, you've more than paid for a locker solution. So a couple other things that we're going to talk about here real quick. I'm going to walk you through the hardware. So this is our version 3 103. We call it a 103 because it has 3 compartments and a user interface. We also have a 107, which is a floor standing model. So think of this with 4 additional compartments below. Those are the 2 control units that we have that have the user interface. You can also satellite additional units to the controller unit that has either 4 or 8 compartments, so 104s and 108s that satellite to this. So it gives you a lot of flexibility as you talk to your customers. These, as I mentioned, are manufactured by MERCO, so they're part of the MERCO line, and they're coming out of Covington right now, actually a Delafield plant right now in Covington, Tennessee. So a couple things I want you to notice about the hardware. When Eric gets around and does the demonstration, you'll notice that these are open in the back. So one of the things that customers are going to immediately think about and ask you about is, are the compartments temperature controlled, or are they heated? And people initially think, we need heating, right? We got to keep the food warm. What we've learned, and Apex actually has more experience in temperature controlled food delivery than anybody in the marketplace right now. So we did Little Caesars Pizza Portal, and what we learned is that there are some food items like pizza where heating makes sense, but the goal here is not to store something in that compartment. The goal is to move it as quickly as possible. So we call it a locker, but unfortunately what a locker the connotation people get is that, well, it's gonna be there a while. Right now, the average amount of time that food spends in a compartment is about 6 minutes. So if we're moving food through quickly, we're actively communicating to the end user, the temperature control is really not necessary. What the open back does is it makes it much more efficient for the kitchen. They can create the food, put it in the compartment, and move it through pretty quickly. A couple other things, powder coat white or powder coat black are standard with black doors, but you'll see that there's marketing available, there's graphics available. You can wrap this locker to look anything like anything you want it to do. So it can absolutely be customized for your brand that you're working with. There's lighting in the compartment, and when Eric does the demonstration, you'll notice that the lighting is used to communicate both to the kitchen and to the end user. So you'll see the lighting change. It's all customizable, but we use that to communicate and let you know what the different status of the lockers are. The other thing that you'll see is there are cameras in each of these compartments, and those cameras are used to see presence in the locker. So as Eric does the demonstration, you'll see that in use. The one other thing I'll tell you is that there is a version of this with a back, so you may have customers where they're not able to load it from the kitchen. You can do a front load version of this where it's set against the wall. So I'm going to turn it over to Eric and Brett now, and they're going to walk you through a demonstration. Thanks.
So here we are on the kitchen side of the locker. What we're going to demonstrate right now is that workflow of loading it in and making sure that order is ready to go for the customer to come pick up. So I've got that order prepared and ready to go into the locker. What I'm going to do is type in the customer's phone number for them to receive a notification to come to pick it up. So I'm going to type in that number. Brett, what was your phone number?
707 31 81.
Oops. So I'm going to click that checkbox. The locker's going to give me a position to load the order into. I hit complete and I walk away. The other alternative I have is if I'm delivering for or if I'm loading something in that's for DoorDash, as an example. As a DoorDash driver, when I show up in the kitchen, the only thing I have on my phone is that customer's first name, last initial. And that's the only information that's common between the restaurant and the driver. So again, when that DoorDash driver shows up, I'm going to use Brett B, first name, last initial, to load in this order. And we're going to show both of these pickups when we get around to the other side. The last thing you'll notice is that I have this option to add a space. So if I have a very large order, I can add an extra compartment for it. And both of these positions will be available for that order. When that person comes to pick up, both doors will open up. Both of those options that I've shown so far are available right off the truck. So we call that our core workflow. If I deliver this to a location, I hook it up to power, Ethernet. It also supports Wi-Fi and cellular. I have both of those options available to me right out of the box. The third option, the scan access code, is what we call our integrated solution, meaning that this is talking to other equipment in the kitchen. So if I'm, as an example, aggregating my delivery orders through Olo or Flyby, as an example, the locker is actively listening for those orders to come in, and then on my make ticket in the kitchen, I might have a barcode to scan instead. But the core offering is available right out of the box. So to show the pickup process, we're going to step around to the front side of the locker. And Brett should have received a text message on his phone by now. So Brett gets a text message that includes a barcode, and he's got a manual number that he can type in as well. But on the front of the locker, when he comes to pick up, he's going to go ahead and scan that barcode. And the door for his order opens up, and only his order. So he can grab his stuff, be on his way. Now, if Brett was instead the delivery driver picking up for Brett B, he would instead walk up to the locker and type in that first name, last initial that he has on his phone. And both doors associated with that order will open up. So what's really nice about this solution is that it's capturing all those data points. So today, once the order hits the end of the make line, it sits on a counter waiting for somebody to come pick it up. The operator knows when that order dropped into the kitchen and how long it took to produce. But once it's done, there's really no accountability on tracking that order. This allows you to know not only when it was produced, but when it was made ready for pickup by being put into the locker, and when it was actually picked up, either by the driver or by the customer. So you have that visibility to see how long those orders sit for, and you have that data now to say, maybe my drivers are taking too long to show up, or maybe my customers are coming too fast. The data that this thing provides is really the big value that it includes. One other thing you'll notice is the illumination that changes in the compartment. So when the compartment is being used for delivery, it turns, in our case, yellow. That illumination is completely customizable. Once it's loaded, it turns white, and that indicates to Brett that his order's in that position, and turned green when he was actively picking up. So that communication both to the customer and to the kitchen is bidirectional. So let's say Brett, as the delivery driver, did not come in time. We could configure a timer, we call it a dwell timer, to say if the order has been in the locker for more than, as an example, 15 minutes, this order is locked down for food safety, food quality, whatever we want to say. And at that time, the position turns red, and that alerts the kitchen to say this order has been sitting in here for too long. And the decision can be made by the operator to say, I'm going to remake this order because it's only been a minute past and the driver just showed up, or I'm going to hold off on remaking this order. And that's the operational decision that you'll be making there. But that illumination, that dwell time and illumination is completely customizable. So that red is usually the best indicator to say this thing has been in here longer than it should be.